order. It is 10:01 a.m. on June the 12th, 2024. I'd like to ask everyone to mute their microphones and turn them on when you want to speak. Oftentimes the shortcut to that is to simply press the space bar. So, and when you are speaking, please announce your name at the beginning of your speaking time so that we can make sure that's properly recorded. So do we have any questions? Everybody okay with that? Everybody good? All right. So let's call on Angelica Lopez Sparks to do a roll call and certify our quorum.
Sounds good. Nicholas Gonzalez.
Here.
Douglas Old Mixon.
Here.
Natalie Dietz.
Here.
Ronald Lastavica.
Here.
And presiding officer John Abear.
Bear.
Bear
Here.
Abear.
Oh my gosh, Angelica.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. First item, or item C on our agenda, we would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 5th, 2024 meeting. Is there a move? Is there a motion? We need a motion to approve the minutes of the March 5th meeting.
I'm happy to make that motion. Doug Old
Thank you.
Mixon.
Motion by Mr. Old Mixon. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second the motion.
Mr. Gonzalez. Okay.
Mr. Gonzalez and Angelica, if you would, let's do a roll call vote and let's
Yes,
do
sir.
a roll call vote on that.
Nicholas Gonzalez.
Aye.
Douglas Old Mixon.
Aye.
Natalie Dietz.
Aye.
Ronald Lastavica.
Aye.
And presiding officer Bear Abear.
Aye.
Your motion passes.
Okay, thank you. So next on our agenda is public comment. Any person wishing to address the board. So the Auctioneer Advisory Board did not receive any request to give public comment during the meeting. So do we need to, Angelica, do we need to officially close public
You
comment?
can just
or
move
was
on to the next agenda
Let's
item.
move
Yeah,
on.
we didn't receive any comments.
Okay, there were no comments, which I find a little surprising because auctioneers are typically a little more verbal. But anyway, so let's move to our staff reports. We're on item E. Item E of the staff report is briefing from staff. So for our licensing division, the chair calls on Sam Torres. Sam.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Sam
morning, sir.
Torres here from licensing. So we have our statistics here, basically just showing your fiscal year and then the first two quarters, 2024. So fiscal year 2023. So you'll see the new applicants that we had. Licenses that we had back in 2023 at 74, and then the associate auctioneer for 2023 was 18. That's really about it. You know, and it seems like everybody, almost everybody, renews online. That's why I don't see a whole bunch of these. So, but they're there. You guys are out there. That's about it. Everything seems fairly normal.
All right. It looks we issued 74 new ones in 2023, and looks like it's on track. So thank you, Mr. Torres.
You're
Does
welcome.
anyone have any questions for Mr. Torres? All righty. Well, then thank you for that information, sir. Let's go to E2. Let's go to the Education and Examination Division, and the chair will call on Marco Rodriguez to give us some information on that. Marco?
Good morning, Mr. Presiding Officer and Advisory Board members. My name is Marco Rodriguez, and I'm with the Education Division, and I will be presenting the report for you. The first thing we have is the examination statistics as of April 30th, 2024. And then after the examination statistics, we have the continuing education course statistics as of April 30th, 2024. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
So one question when we're looking at course approvals, are we looking at new individuals that are offering the courses, or is that people that have actually successfully completed the continuing ed courses?
These are new course approvals.
Okay, so people that these are new folks that are authorized to administer the continuing ed information.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Rodriguez, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Rodriguez? All right. So we will go now to E3. Let's hear from our customer service division. And the chair would like to recognize Miss Myra Rodriguez. Miss Myra.
Hi, good morning, board members and TDLR staff. Looking at a report here for the statistics for the customer service contacts. In this fiscal year has been up and down for us as far as contacts are concerned. There's been some months that are actually a little bit higher in contacts than the fiscal year 2023. Those months being November, January, February, April, and I just looked at the statistics for May that we didn't have available when this report was due, and they're only higher by 4 contacts, and that is where we're at. It's pretty up and down for this current fiscal year. If you look at 2023, the contacts seem to be a little bit higher and a little bit more consistent in numbers. And I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Rodriguez? Okay, thank you. And thank you for the thank you for the explanation of the statistics here. We certainly do appreciate that, ma'am. So and everybody okay with what we're seeing here? Looks like from number one thing that jumps out for me is obviously in September, October, November of last year, they had emails, and so far of everything coming in for 2024, looks like it's just phone calls. So, okay.
We occasionally get emails, but the emails that come with attachments, they go to our licensing department directly. So we no longer track those statistics here unless it's like a general question that comes to our web form. But otherwise, that is a new initiative that those documents that people submit via email, via our web form, they go directly to licensing.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much for that. So let's move down to E4 on the agenda now. Let's hear from the Enforcement Division, and the chair would like to recognize Pedro Perez. Pedro.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As the chair indicated, my name is Pedro Perez, and I'm a prosecutor in the Enforcement Division. I'm here today to provide you the enforcement report. As we get started, I want to refer you to the top of page 1, where you have the division's performance measures. As we indicated last time, this is the type of information which is reported to the Texas legislature. As we discussed last time, we've reorganized the materials so you can compare one fiscal year to another more clearly. The materials are organized so you can compare fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2024 through the month of April of each fiscal year, which is 8 months. You may notice that we continue to close complaints more quickly in fiscal year 2024 than we did in fiscal year 2023. But I will note that this program does not have a lot of disciplinary action. The next section is the criminal history review for applicants who may have disqualifying criminal history. These cases are handled by criminal history prosecutors. I do want to highlight that applications for a license by persons with a criminal history have jumped a bit between fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. At this point in fiscal year 23, there were 176 requests, and in fiscal year 2024, there are 268. The next section deals with where enforcement division's complaints come from, whether they are from consumers or from within the agency. As you can see, all but one of the force's complaints have come from a consumer complaint. The top of page 2 breaks down into a pie chart the source of the complaints that were opened in the auctioneer program by the department. 4 are consumer complaints and 2 are criminal history cases. The next section details our caseloads within our enforcement division. You can see the caseloads of the Department for Auctioneers in this section. As indicated earlier, there were 6 complaints opened. The next section is the orders issued section. This section includes the different types of orders that may be used in auctioneer cases by enforcement. There were none for this period. The penalties and consumer remedy section details how many fines were assessed versus actually collected and shows you the average penalty on these cases. Again, there were none collected for this period. Next, there have been no licenses with disciplinary sanctions so far for fiscal year 2024, and none for the same period in fiscal year 2023. The next section is closed cases with disciplinary action. For this reporting period, there were 2 cases closed under the category of other, which is it's listed there the type of possibilities where something may be closed as being other. The next section details alleged violations at opening. These are just the reasons the case is open on the front end. The reasons are listed on the report. The following section details violations which resulted in disciplinary action. These are the type of cases we took action on. So far in fiscal year 2024, the number is 0. This will conclude my report for the enforcement division. I'm available for any questions if y'all have any.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Perez. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Natalie Dietz. So these are, remind me again, these are complaints against auctioneers, correct?
Are you looking at a certain category, Ms. Dietz?
If you scroll back up to, keep going, I think it was like the first page or second page. First page. So number of complaints open, 6. Those are complaints against auctioneers?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And the disciplinary action, so those other 4 complaint cases are still open if we close 2?
If we've opened 6 in this fiscal year, and we would need to look to see how many may still be open.
Okay.
Well, if we under the pie chart, there were 6 open, 4 from consumer, and 2 for criminal history.
Okay.
And
Do we have metrics for complaints filed from licensed auctioneers against non-licensed auctioneers? Or do we track those metrics?
you're asking if we track whether or not a licensed auctioneer has complained against an unlicensed auctioneer?
Correct.
So,
Correct. Or consumers
I
have
mean,
complained against non-licensed.
yes, we do. If there are complaints of that sort, we would have that. I don't think in this time period we had any complaints like that.
Okay.
So if you look under the alleged, that's the second to the last category on the second page, alleged violations at opening. And we list the 3 categories that happened to occur in this 8-month period. So we did not have a complaint concerning unlicensed auctioneer during that period, during that 8-month period.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Natalie,
Okay.
is that sufficiently answered your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Dietz.
Mr. Old Mixon, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I have one question that kind of follows Ms. Dietz's line of inquiry as well. And that's one of the things with the scrolling data here. I still haven't been able to determine. It looks like there was only one open complaint at the beginning of the fiscal year. Is that correct? There's only one unresolved complaint at the beginning of the fiscal year. That's what I'm trying to determine.
Yeah, we look under the, I guess, page 2, caseloads and enforcement. Beginning of the fiscal year, there was one complaint opened, and there were coming into fiscal year, there was one. Number of complaints open during that period of time would have been 6, and the number closed would have been 2.
Okay, so the current unresolved caseload is 5.
Uh, I would need to double check that. I don't want to mislead you on that. I can double check on that.
Okay,
And
well,
I
it's
say that because are you talking about up until April? Because I mean, this information is good into April, but we're at,
of
we're
course.
like June now. So anything
Yeah,
that's coming after April would not be reflected here.
I understand, but we don't know how many were open during that period or closed during that period. But as of the end of April, it appears there were 5 unresolved cases.
At the end of April, that would seem to be correct. Yes, 5.
Okay. Okay, well, and that's, I'm just trying to get a handle on
Yeah.
the total caseload, not counting all of the criminal history issues, because every application has to come with that, and every renewal potentially has additional information that might be needed to be reported and reviewed, and those all get tracked as well. But more importantly, the actual complaints that either there's unlicensed activity or a licensed appraiser has done something to harm someone else. So those are the ones I was more concerned about. And so the question that Ms. Dietz asked, if I were a licensed appraiser and filed a complaint about an unlicensed appraiser, is there a separate category for that, or is that just listed as a consumer complaint?
I don't believe that is its own unique separate category. I think that the issue would be that there has been a complaint filed against an unlicensed person, and that will be reflected as a complaint filed. However, as I indicated to Ms. Dietz, we don't seem to have any in that category for the 8 months that we're reporting in this period.
Well, okay, this still doesn't answer the question. If there was one and you don't track it as a separate category, would it be filed under consumer complaint?
Yes.
Okay, so if we have 5 open consumer complaints,
Yeah.
one or none or all could be appraisers filing complaints against other unlicensed appraisal activity.
Well, I would think not, because if we look at the on the page 3 under alleged violations at opening, there are
Okay.
six complaints, which matches the amount referred to on page 2. And the 3 categories are: 1, failed to pay seller within 15 days. There were 3 of those complaints. Criminal history, there are 2. And flagrant misrepresentation or false promises is 1. So that will be 6 complaints. And there will be no complaint from an unlicensed person here.
Okay, great.
Well,
So
I mean,
that unlicensed activity is an alleged violation that would be tracked, but the fact that that complaint was made by a licensed person or just another consumer is not potentially tracked. But the fact that it is unlicensed activity would be tracked as an alleged violation category, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, wonderful. Hopefully that was, although painful, was helpful.
I apologize if I wasn't clear, sir.
No. I think my insistence on the details was the painful part, not your answers.
Thank you.
all right, Mr. Olmixon, does that satisfy your query?
It does. Thank you.
All right, let's move to Mr. Lastovica. I see that you have your hand up. You're still muted, sir.
I just have a quick question on back
there we
to
go.
criminal history review. On the applications, new and renewal, it looks like a 52% increase from 23 to 24. Of those, what percentage of those are new applicants with criminal history versus renewals?
I don't think we have that here. I could ask and get that information sent to you also.
Well, I'm just, and do you have an inference as in regard to the increased numbers?
I don't have a breakdown, sir. No. I mean, I'm sure we have that someplace. That's not reported here. I can ask though. I can get that to you.
But just as a point of clarification to Mr. Lastavica's question, Mr. Pedro, he was asking about criminal history on new
Right.
applications versus criminal history investigations on renewals.
Right.
And then he asked the question about any inference as to why the huge jump. I mean, that's almost 100 new uh, new applicants over normal.
Yeah.
And when you said that you're sure that you have that information, I'm not sure which one you were referring to.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm talking about the breakdown of the 268, of which are new and which are renewals.
Okay.
That data I would assume that we would have. However, I will double check that and get that to you all. As to why there is an increase, I have no idea. I mean, I don't know if we would necessarily know that, because that would mean that we would, be have the motivation of the applicants have knowledge of that. I don't know. I don't think we would know that. Maybe there's just an interest in people becoming auctioneers.
I would think that's because we all set such great examples in the industry that everybody wants to be like us.
That's exactly what I was thinking. They
So,
want to come and join us.
Thank you very much for the clarification on the new versus renewal. So,
Yeah.
and I apologize for the interruption of time, Mr. Lastavica. So please proceed, sir.
He's on
Still
mute.
muted.
I'm still muted. I was just curious, and Chairman O'Bear, I appreciate your analogy that they want to aspire to be great auctioneers. The other side of that would be just the ease of entry. We want to make sure that we continue to keep the bar high. I can see that as in terms of our standards, in terms of examinations. It's a 50% fail rate for the most part. So that says they've got to meet the bar. So they're doing all the good work and due diligence accordingly. So I was just curious that those numbers, 52% increase in anything catches my attention.
Understood, sir. All right. So does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Pettis? Okay. Well, Mr. Pettis, thank you very much for that information. We certainly do appreciate that, and we look forward to hearing getting the information on new versus renewals. So let's go now to our compliance division, and the chair would like to call on Michael Strawn. Mr. Strawn, what have you got for us?
Good morning, Chairman and members. My name is Michael Strawn. I'm the new manager for our compliance division for this program. Wanted to kind of talk to y'all today a little bit about some of the changes and opportunities that we have. On the screen, you'll see obviously the public outreach. You'll also see the personnel updates. Those are kind of going to go hand in hand. I came over to this division recently, and when I did, we unfortunately lost our very talented program specialist that we had here before. So we are currently seeking to fill that vacancy at this point in time, so that we can get back out. So it's not just the one-man show with myself. Get back out to all these public outreach opportunities. We've been receiving some contacts as of late for speaking opportunities, and we are always willing, able, and excited to come and speak at any conventions, conferences, or association meetings that we can. It's an opportunity for us to build those bridges with our licensees, educate them, and answer any questions you all have. So if you all have any opportunities you would like us at the department to come speak at, please, by all means, reach out to us, let us know. Here soon, I will hopefully have a new program specialist that will be serving you all. When we do fill that position, I know something that we really look at expanding their opportunities within the auctioneer program. How engaged we can be, what more information, what more engagement we can bring to the auctioneer program are going to be some of our goals when we fill that position. With that being said, that's my updates today, and open for any questions you all may have. And I apologize for my voice being out. Thank you.
And does anyone have any questions for Mr. Strawn? I think that was a pretty thorough explanation, sir, and I certainly appreciate you enduring your voice issue, and good luck with that. And let me know how that spicy clamato thing works out for you. So do we have, if there are no other questions, let's move now to item E6 on the agenda. I'm kind of having some issues with it myself this morning. So let's hear from the executive office, and the chair would like to call on Deputy Executive Director Brandy Myers. Brandy, what have you got for us?
Good morning, Presiding Officer and board members. I am
Good
Brandy
morning.
Myers. I'm the Deputy Executive Director over the Administrative Services arm of TDLR. Happy to be with you this morning. For the personnel update, we have a permanent Executive Director now. Ms. Courtney Arbor is our new Executive Director, who was appointed by the Commission at the beginning of this month, and she is coming to us from the Texas Workforce Commission, where she has served as the Workforce Development Director over there. She's an incredible leader. She is an exciting person. She's excited about our agency. She's excited about all the different programs that she gets to learn. And she's jumped in feet first and is headed down the road with us. So she's a great addition, and we want to definitely thank Mr. Brian Francis for once again leading our agency day by day and into our future endeavors, and appreciate his leadership through all of these times as well. The next item that I'm going to talk about is the strategic plan update. So the last time that we met at the beginning of March, we were just getting ready to kick off this entire process of the strategic plan. And as I mentioned at that time, it is not a checkbox item for us as an agency. We really do delve into this process and invest a lot of time and effort into it to get the best idea of what our agency's goals and initiatives are going to look like moving into the next 5-year period. So we visited 5 different cities within the state of Texas through this time. We received over 6,000 comments from internal and external stakeholders regarding the programs that we regulate, and came up with an incredible strategic plan. It was due on June 1st, so it is published. It is on our website, and I invite you to go check it out. You'll be able to kind of look at, again, what are our goals, what are our initiatives, and what does TDLR look like as we move into the 2025 through 2029 years. So that is my update, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brandy. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Brandy? All right. Well, certainly thank you to all of those folks for bringing all of that information to this meeting, and certainly to this advisory board. So if there are no other questions for any of that, no other go backs, if y'all are okay with it, let's move to F on our agenda. And I'd like to call on Assistant General Counsel Robert Reyes and Miss Jane Weber. We will need a motion and a second to recommend to the commission to approve the proposed rules as presented. And do we have a motion?
Chair, Robert Reyes here, Assistant General Counsel. Let me offer the materials here first to you all, and then a motion and vote if seconded,
Okay.
can take place.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer, board members, Robert Reyes, Assistant General Counsel. Here to present to you some update and go through the rules process for the bill implementation rule set as was presented to you at the previous meeting. Before the board, and let me share my screen with you all here so y'all can be reminded of the rule set that is before you. All right. Before the board are the proposed amendments to the auctioneer's program rules located in Title 16 of the Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 67. As a reminder, I went through this with you all at the previous meeting that we had, but these proposed rules implement House Bill 4416 from the regular session of the 80th Legislature. This bill addresses concerns that were identified in the department's study of the auctioneer's program, mandated by House Bill 1560, which was signed into law during the regular session of the 87th Legislature. As a reminder, the rules as a result of House Bill 4416 perform several functions. Those functions are as follows. They revise rules regarding the Auctioneer Education and Recovery Fund, including when the fund will be reviewed to determine if an additional fee will be added to license renewals, and increasing the total payment from the fund arising from a single auction to $100,000. This can be seen in 6740 subsections D, E, and F. We also re-lettered previous F and G to G and H to include new F and then new I as well. New 6740 subsection I clarifies the consequences for auctioneers or associate auctioneers if a payment is made from the fund due to their action or failure to repay the fund. We then relettered previous H to J. In 6770 B4 and B6, we added requirements. Let me scroll down there real quick. We added requirements of a signed contract and an itemized inventory of property before an auction or sale occurs. We also spell out details regarding the Auctioneer Advisory Board, including membership, terms, and vacancies. This is found in 67.75 subsection D. I'm sorry, that's 67.65, not 75. My apologies. Including membership, terms, and vacancies. So we did have an addition to 67.65, and we added a completely new 67.66 regarding terms and vacancies. We also removed the requirement that an associate auctioneer be employed by a licensed auctioneer. This is seen in 67.21 number 2 and 6771A. So let me scroll up there real quick so you can see that.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Here it is.
Okay, there you go.
Work instead of employed, and 67.71. Right here, work under. These proposed rules were published in the Texas Register on March 29th, 2024, after our March 5th, 2024 meeting. The department received no comments during the 30-day public comment window, which closed on April 29th, 2024. As you see, the department did not make any changes to the published language. Department staff advises the board to vote to make a recommendation to the commission to adopt the rules as published and as presented to you here. I'm available for any questions you may have.
I have a question. This is Natalie Dietz. So
Yes, ma'am.
are we as advisory board members allowed to reach out on public comment forums regarding this?
Yes, that is correct. A comment can always be offered either during discussion, during an agenda item that is up for discussion and vote, or as a private citizen during the comment period.
Okay. The reason I ask is I'm really struggling with the definition moving from employed for associate auctioneer to work under, because work under is a very vast term that opens up the door for a lot of issues. We see a lot of associate, quote unquote, associate auctioneers working under licensed auctioneers that are not actually withholding ethical boundaries. So I'm really struggling with the word work versus employed. That's just my opinion. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but that one word is just a sticking point for me. So.
Understood, ma'am. And just a quick response: the wording that is used is found in sections number 1 and number 5 of House Bill 4416. So the legislature through the bill that was passed and signed into law by Governor Abbott, we're very restricted to a certain path that we can use. So that was the only verb that we could use in that for this rule, as stated in the bill. So I do understand your concern. My response would be to the public at large and to the industry at large is that you know the program statute and rules are available to everybody, and so are the ethical boundaries that are stated in the program administrative rules. And I would hope that everybody would be brave enough and insightful enough to identify those persons and file a complaint if they see something that is not happening that should, or if somebody is or if they have reason to believe that somebody is not following the program laws and rules.
So do we know why the change of this one verb came about?
No, ma'am, I don't. I know that there is some usual legislative history regarding the bill. I have not read I do not recall. I did read it, but it's been such a long time ago. I do not recall it to give you an accurate statement right now. What I can do is I can download that link and send it to the all board members here after the meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Natalie, is that all that you had at this point? Because we have another speaker.
Yes, thanks.
Are there any other questions I can ask? I can
Mr.
answer.
Oldmixon has his hand up.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I was just waiting to be recognized, but thank you. So again, to address Mrs. Dietz's concern, I guess I would just point out two things. One is, yes, the bill as passed requires the use of that language, or this language parrots the bill. So as our attorney said, they're kind of constrained with using that language. The second thing is that under general employment law, which was in place prior, the employer is responsible for the employee's activities within the scope of their employment. In this case, and so that scope may not be particularly well defined under the general rules, but in this particular case, under the work under, there's also a requirement, and I just wanted to validate this with our attorney, that in the new rules here, there is a requirement for a written contract for every one of those engagements. Isn't that correct?
Robert Reyes, Assistant General Counsel.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We do have now this bill and others in another section of the bill. There must be a written contract now, and any amendments to that contract must be in writing before the actual auction takes place or sale takes place. So
Okay.
there are terms that will need to be fleshed out in writing to protect both the consumer and the licensee.
Right. So that's that kind of the trade-off is you went from a general, the auctioneer is responsible for all the associates under their employ, to the auctioneer is now required to contract in writing with all of those associates and spell out all of the duties that they have. And so that the evidence of whether or not someone lived up to those responsibilities is actually probably strengthened by the requirement to have a written contract. So that was just an observation that might help to balance some of those concerns. And in general, Texas has been for more than a couple of decades moving towards a lesser, it's not the threshold for licensing, but the conditions under which licensed activity can be performed. And so I think this opening up the independent contractor, but relationship, if you will, even though there is a contract between the two, the auctioneer and the associate, is actually more flexible than the requirement to have a full-time employment agreement that may not be in writing. And so I think part of the impetus behind the change is to add some flexibility in the area of the conditions under which license activity might occur. So that's, I don't know if that's a satisfactory explanation, but it's just reading the trends in general license activity, license law in Texas over the past couple of decades. And end of comments.
Thank you. This is Natalie Dietz. I understand. I like that piece of it, but I feel working in the industry, people are abusing the ability to have an associate auctioneer position. The associate auctioneer position was made for those that were maybe younger and they couldn't take the licensing test yet, but now we see several people that are beyond that age requirement and have the ability to take the test, but they choose not to. So they're abusing the position of being an associate auctioneer working under a licensed auctioneer. And that's where my sticking point is. So.
Ms. Teese, let me reply to that, because I do think that your concern does have a lot of weight to it. And what I can recommend is that in the future, a work group can be brought together, which would be less than a quorum of the advisory board, where those that volunteer to be part of that work group can discuss this issue at greater depth, try to get to the root of the issue or the root causes of the issue, and then hold discussions to possibly develop some sort of rule or concept on which a rule can be developed and go down the rulemaking process. So I would advise, anybody else who has similar thoughts or a similar concern, or any of the general public who's viewing right now, to send in a comment, or or any anecdotal evidence they may have, and then through the rulemaking process, that type of rule, or at least those type of discussions, can be started.
Okay, thank you. That actually helps. So thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Sure thing. You're on mute, Mr. Presiding Officer.
I took the same notes, Natalie. Work groups. So does anyone else have any questions about the information presented by Mr. Reyes? Okay, at this point, we will need a motion and a second to recommend the commission to approve the proposed rules as presented. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make move a motion that we accept the rules as presented.
Motion by Mr. Lastavica. Do we have a second?
I'll happily second that motion.
Second by Mr. Old Mixon. At this point, let's, Ms. Angelica, would you do a roll call vote? And
Yes, sir.
let us know the outcome, please.
Nicholas Gonzalez,
Aye.
Douglas Old Mixon,
Aye.
Natalie Dietz,
Aye.
Ronald Lastavica,
Aye.
and Presiding Officer Bay Airbear.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, sir.
And I certainly want to thank this board. I know there was there's a lot of ways that this thing could have kind of gone either way, and I know there was a lot of discussion on that. Certainly want to thank you, Robert, for giving us some opportunities to navigate this kind of stuff in the future when there are a lot of varying opinions on the way that something goes. So I want to thank thank the board for working together, and thank you for the unity and the harmony on it. And certainly thank you, Mr. Reyes, for all the valuable information as well.
Thank you, sir.
So, all right, moving on to G. Do we have, we're going to look for recommendations for agenda items for the next advisory board meeting. We have any recommendations of agenda items for the next meeting?
So, Mr. Abear, I went ahead and put on work group assignments. That way we can kind of go over the work groups.
I apologize. Who was speaking?
Oh, Angelica, I'm sorry.
Oh, what happened to your?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, but I guess your camera is lagging because it just looks like you're just standing there. You're just, okay. I'm sorry, discussion of.
I was going to put work group assignments. That way we can discuss a topic that Natalie brought up earlier about the associate auctioneer.
Yes,
that way we can assign that to a work group.
Right. And just to just kind of discuss Natalie's points and Mr. Old Mixon. So are there any other recommended agenda items for our next meeting? Okay.
If the board thinks of any, you're more than welcome to email me or call me as well before the next meeting.
I was going to say, if anything comes up post meeting, just pardon me. Pardon me. Just please feel free to send an email to Angelica. So as far as the date and time for our next meeting, I believe Angelica will poll the board via email. You're going to do that via email, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, one moment. The chair would like to recognize Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Once again, Robert Reyes, Assistant General Counsel. It's been my honor to serve you all in the past few meetings, here with the auctioneers Advisory Board and the program at large. This will be my last meeting with you all. There has been some reshuffling here with the Office of the General Counsel, and we have reshuffled programs. So Ms. Janie Weber has been with the Office of General Counsel for the past, I believe, 9 months, and she will be taking over the program from me. She is very well read and well learned in the processes of General Counsel and what we need to do to help you all move the industry forward. So I would like to introduce Ms. Janie Weber, who will be your new Assistant General Counsel in charge of the program. I will stay on this until on the program until the commission meeting in July to offer these rules that you just recommended for adoption. And then the next day, Ms. Weber will start taking you through and navigate the waters of the auctioneer industry in the state of Texas. So Ms. Weber, if you'd like to introduce yourself and offer a few tidbits about you, I'd really appreciate it.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate the intro. As Robert mentioned, I have been with the GC division for a few months. It's just flown by, and I am delighted to serve all of you here as your new program attorney. While I myself was not an auctioneer, I did grow up with my uncle having an auctioneer house down in New Orleans. And so as a little girl, I would sometimes have the privilege of going and hearing him conduct an auction. So at any rate, I'm just really excited to be here and see how all of this unfolds. Thank you so much.
You are welcome, and certainly welcome to the group. So Robert, just quick anecdotal. So where are you headed now? So what's your new role with OGC?
I still have 4 programs that I will be overseeing, and so with Janie was an addition to the group, so we were able to move around and spread the programs to more assistant general counsels, and so this is a program that she has picked up. I will still have 4 other programs to oversee, as well as be part of the office's legislative focus practice group, which will be gearing up here soon for the new session in 25. And I'm also part of the veterinary board attachment as part of the litigation section there. So there's plenty to do to keep the office going, and just really happy and honored to have served you all, to have met you all, and help get this bill implementation through the rulemaking process.
Excellent. We'll certainly want to wish you well on in your future, but just the couple of meetings, and certainly you and I have had a few other meetings. I've always felt like you've conducted yourself very professionally, and certainly want to say thank you for the support that you've given to this group in the past. And again, just kind of wish you well in the direction that you're going, sir, and look forward to seeing all the great things that you do moving forward.
Thank you very much, Chair. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Miss Jane, you do have a pretty good size set of footprints here that you gotta fill. But I have no doubt that you will continue to just knock it out of the park as Mr. Reyes has. So, do we have any other? Are there any other information on that? Everybody, I guess, Angelica, if you would just maybe send out an email with Miss Jane's contact information, email, and all of that stuff, just so that in the event that we have any questions, anything like that, we can baptize by fire, so to speak. So start firing some questions at her. So are there any other is there any other discussion relevant to Miss Jane and Mr. Robert? All right. So at this time, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
You don't necessarily need a motion, Mr. Aber. You can just call the time if you'd like, but if you prefer a motion, we can do that as well.
Okay, well, then if there is no other business, then I will hereby declare at 10:56 a.m. that this meeting is adjourned.